Today I'm going to share with you 3 of the worst mistakes that you can never make as an expat living abroad. Seriously, these mistakes, they can get you bankrupt and even killed. So make sure you never make these mistakes ever. Let's get started with the first one. The first one is not as common as mistake number 3, but it's just as fatal, which is to not get health insurance when you are abroad. This is crucial and this is serious stuff. Like, I've seen so many people that got seriously injured, whether they got in an accident, they got hit by a car, they got into a fight, whatever. They got seriously injured and they were in the country without health insurance. This is one of the worst mistakes that you can make. You know why? It doesn't cost you a lot of money to get health insurance. Travel insurance is not super expensive. Travel insurance is very affordable. And we've talked about this, like, you're paying a little money to protect a lot. Unless you're a millionaire or multi-millionaire, paying 70 to 100 bucks a month for travel insurance, where you protect the majority of what you have. Especially your life. You are protecting your life. You're protecting your health. You're protecting your body. It's nothing better than that. Like, the worst thing that you can do is ignore this little fact, sweep it under the table, do like it's not important until reality kicks in. You get hit by a car, you got into a fight at a nightclub, you got drunk, or whatever happened, and you are standing there without health insurance. And it's not like, hey, I can get health insurance the moment this happens. This is not how it works. For health insurance to work properly, you have to get it before the trip. You can't just sign up the moment it happens. I've seen people do this and then they stood there surprised, noticing that it doesn't work like that. You have to get health insurance before the incident. This is important. And again, you're paying little money to protect a lot of money. And if you got something serious, this can easily go into the tens of thousands of dollars or even $100,000, which is a lot of money to most people. Again, unless you're a multi-millionaire, and even if you're a millionaire, $100,000 is a lot of money. Because when you are laying on that sidewalk unconsciously, you're laying there, ambulance comes, flips you over, opens up your wallet, you don't have a credit card, you don't have insurance, and there's nobody with you to help you, which is the worst, then you're in trouble. But as long as you have a credit card, they will probably take you in. A credit card is a good thing to have. Don't get me wrong, like, a credit card is kind of like an insurance. Because they see, oh, you got a credit card, well, at least we are going to get something from him. This is really, really crucial. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen people make. And another thing I want to append here is get vaccinated, like just for the basic stuff. Hepatitis, typhoid. Get the basic vaccines, especially if you're going to an emerging country, you want to get the vaccines. I have seen people that went to the Philippines and that were hospitalized with typhoid for weeks. If you think vaccines are bad, we're not talking about the last vaccine from the past crisis, right? We're talking about everyday vaccines that are actually here to protect you. Getting these vaccines is gold. Again, you're paying little money to protect yourself from death or from serious illness and running up a hospital bill that you might not be able to pay. In the event that you didn't get health insurance because you were like, nothing's going to happen to me, everything's going to be fine. Guess what? Things do happen. No matter how lucky you think you are, sometimes at the wrong time, the worst thing happens and you don't have anything. You're not covered. So make sure you do that, please. The second worst mistake that I've seen people make, but again, it's not as fatal as mistake number 3, so make sure you watch this whole video. Or a very bad mistake that I see people make a lot is that they go to a country with the expectation that it's going to be like at home. Like the culture, the language, the environment, everything, it's going to be like at home. They're coming to the country with the wrong expectations, believing that everything will be like at home. This is one of the most delusional mindsets that you can have. And this mindset has cost people a lot. Seriously, like, if you go to a country expecting something that is unrealistic, guess what's going to happen? You will be disappointed without a question. This is important, right? If you go to a new country, before you go there, inform yourself about the cultural standards. Inform yourself about the language that's spoken in the country. Inform yourself about everyday things, because you don't want to go into a country not knowing what's important to know about the country. You don't do that. Yet so many people make that mistake and believe that, oh, I'm exempt from this. You know, I can adjust because I'm Michael and nothing's going to happen to me. Like, seriously, the amount of people that I've seen failing because of this mistake are a lot of people, and then they fly back home and they're like, holy cow, this is not what I expected. Guess what? Places are different, cultures are different, countries are different, right? You cannot change the country, and going to a country believing that people should act the same as they do in your country is, again, delusional thinking. It doesn't work like that. When you go to a country, you gotta be open-minded and you gotta be ready for change. No matter whether you live in an expat community or not, it still requires change. And most importantly, before that change can ever happen, it requires mental openness. Adjustments are always necessary when moving to a new country, no matter where you're moving to. Even if you're moving from the United States to Mexico, there are some changes necessary. Trust me about that. If you're moving to Paraguay, if you're moving to Italy, if you're moving to Portugal, if you're moving to Tanzania, right? Life is different in different places. So make sure you set your expectations right. And in fact, you want to set your expectations lower because you don't want to get disappointed. The worst mistake that I've seen people make is that they set unrealistic expectations that will never come to fruition, that will only get them in trouble, especially emotional trouble. You don't want that. And you can avoid that by doing your research, doing your homework, educating yourself about the place you're moving to make sure it's actually a place where you can see yourself living in. And the best thing you can do is speak to experienced nomads. Let's say you want to move to Paraguay, you want to move to Mexico, any other place, doesn't matter. You want to talk to people that are living in these places, that have a good amount of knowledge. Just get a good amount of knowledge. Inform yourself, get a realistic picture, because again, you want to make sure that you are prepared. This is all about being prepared. Expecting what is to be expected versus living a fantasy. Like, so many people are living a fantasy that they cannot really live. It's just a fabrication of the mind, but it's not true. Like, what you see on YouTube oftentimes is actually untrue. Just because somebody's showing you a few nice videos on some beaches doesn't mean that this is what life is all about in a country. There's certain challenges, right? There are difficulties to overcome. Yes, it's a beautiful place. Yes, there are beautiful beaches. Yes, the food is good. Yes, the outdoor dining is great, but don't be mistaken, there will be challenges, right? Places are nice, but they also have their downsides. All right, it is time for us to talk about the deadliest, the worst mistakes that people make overseas. This is not for the guys out there, and seriously, this has killed more people than anything else. It has bankrupted more people than anything else. Making this mistake is fail. Seriously, like, this has killed people from many countries. Emotionally, spiritually, financially, and even physically. This is one of the worst mistakes that you can make, yet it is the most common of all. And it's the most costly because there's so much tied to this. And what I'm talking about here is falling in love too quickly. This is one of the biggest mistakes. Like, before you leave in your home country, you're on a dating app. Great, you're making connections, and that's how it should be, right? You want to be networking. Networking is everything. You want to be doing this, you want to get pumped. That's a really good thing, right? You want to start some relationships. I mean, not necessarily love relationships and getting too deep too quickly. You don't want that, but you want to spend some time networking, right? You want to kind of warm up some of these people because you want to be able to have some friends when you get there. That's important. But number one mistake that I've seen people make is that they're falling in love too far too quickly. They arrive at the airport in a country, let's say that's in Thailand, or let's say that's even in Mexico, or potentially even in Europe, doesn't matter where. They're arriving at the country, meeting the person, and they are starting the relationship right away. They have never actually met that person. They have never physically been with that person, yet they decided to do that. And don't get me wrong, this can work. I'm not saying that this is 100% failure rate. No, this can work, but a lot of the times this doesn't work because there's so many stones that remain unturned. And before you have unturned these stones, you don't want to get involved in the relationship too fast. Yeah, you can start it, but moving in or getting married or whatever, like committing a lot of your finances, like giving a lot of money away. I know it's an act of generosity and you want to help your partner, this and that, but I've seen people lose everything that they have ever worked for. I've seen people move to Asian countries like the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand. They have moved to these countries, they've sold their house back home, and they have repurchased property in the name of their wives there just to get divorced a few months or a few years later, and they lost everything. They lost their entire nest egg. And this is a very disappointing situation because this could have been prevented. I mean, they shouldn't even have done that in the first place. There would be so many different ways on how to invest more intelligently and more thoughtfully and more carefully and just protect yourself. You don't want to expose yourself to financial failure. And just because someone's nice to you doesn't mean you know everything about them. Just because someone's nice to you doesn't mean that they will always be nice to you. Doesn't mean that they don't have bad sides. So what you can do here is take it slow. Get to know the person over a longer period of time. Don't just move in. Don't just go all in. Don't just hand a bunch of money to a person that you don't know just because you want to be liked. That's what it's all about. We men, we want to be liked. And of course, women love security. And naturally, if you go to an emerging country, a poorer country, that security, that money is being prioritized. That's why they're dating you and not a local person, right? You're bringing different things, different skills, different assets to the table that a local person cannot provide. This is what it's all about. Female hypergamy is 100% spot on here. Be careful, protect yourself. Do not put your assets in the name of another person who you don't know. Of course, you gotta really balance this out. Let's say you got a net worth of 400,000 and you want to buy a house somewhere in a developing country. Let's say the house is going to be 50 to 100,000. Okay, you can buy that, you can take that risk, but again, if you put all your money in one basket, if you put all your eggs in one basket and you're not protected by the country, you're not protected because you cannot own it and you have no rights to it. Let's say you split up, you divorce, you have no rights to it. This is one of the deadliest things that I have seen that people get involved with. And this is detrimental. Like, this can cost you everything. And I've seen people that put all the money that they had in one asset that didn't even belong to them. Like, this is detrimental. You don't want to do that. You're exposing yourself to more risk than you need to. There are way better ways to do this. And the most important thing of all is to be patient. Be patient. Don't do that. If someone just wants your money, and if someone starts asking for money right away, and if it's the only reason why they're talking to you, you have to be even more careful, but generally be skeptical. Be skeptical. Don't trust people easily with your money because you got more to lose. You got everything to lose and they only have to gain. Are there any other fatal mistakes that you have seen people make during their expat journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you need any help with getting a residence permit, you know where to reach us. You can visit our website at nomadelite.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you on the next video.